The ability to discern the difference between feelings and emotions can actually grant you access to being able to make contact with your guides, with energetic beings and galactics that have communications for you. And I'm going to help you discern and understand the difference between feelings and emotions, and especially for you sensitives and empaths, this is going to be really valuable information. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Waxela Sananda. This can open a window for you or a portal once you understand how to work with these different energies. And so for starters, what is feeling? Feeling is anything that you can sense. You know, we have the feeling of touch, but going beyond that are sensing abilities, the things that we sense in the environment. Feeling is picking up energy from other people or from nature, from trees, from animals. Feeling is that intuitive sense when you're in a room and someone's staring at you, but they're behind you, but you can feel it, and you turn around and look. That's feeling. Notice all of these things are sensations that are experienced in some way, physically or energetically, depending on how attuned you are to your energetic field. That's how you might notice somebody's looking at you, or maybe you're in a nature environment and you can feel the elements around you. Maybe there are nature spirits and you feel something energetic from them. You might even be able to see them, but this is not about seeing. This is about feeling. Seeing is also a way to perceive. So it's not far from feeling. But in this situation, feeling, we're feeling things, we're not having an emotion around them. You might have an emotion, but as distinct from being emotional about something. Now, emotion is when we have a feeling about something and then we bring that feeling, usually it becomes mental. So it becomes mental energy, starts to process around in our mind, and then emotion gets moving. So for instance, let's go back to that scene where you're in a room and someone behind you is staring at you, and you kind of feel something in your body and it has you turn around and look, right? So now you look, you don't have an emotion yet about it. You're just feeling that it's going on. But when you look, you see it's an ex partner. And maybe you had a really intense argument the last time you interacted. So now emotional energy gets moving. You might feel angry, you might feel anxious, you might feel upset that that person's in the room and they're looking at you. You might feel like, oh no, now I have to go have either avoid or confront this person. And you might start to feel a lot of feelings, a lot of emotional energy starts to come up and move. The feeling is when you just noticed you didn't have any emotion involved. And the emotional energy is when, okay, now you have more information and you're making things up about it. Oh no, this means whatever it means. And that gets your emotions moving. If that person's not an ex, maybe that's someone that you really like, that you'd like to have a relationship with. And then that energy is going to be really different. Maybe it's someone that you're in a relationship with and that you love. And then you see them looking at you and suddenly you're like, oh, there's my love, and that might bring up a completely different type of emotional energy. And so all of these emotions are based on something that has already happened or something that we're making up in our mind, and that adding mental energy to what we're feeling and bringing that information together. Now emotion starts to get rolling. Please know there's no judgment on emotional energy. It's not good or bad. It is, however, really important to be able to discern, okay, this is emotional energy, and then to be able to control your emotional energy. We've all seen people who aren't able to control their emotional energy, including all of us when we were toddlers, and something goes wrong, we get upset about something, we scream, yell, cry, beat our fists on the ground. There's nothing wrong with that either. That's a way that a toddler can process the emotional energy that they're experiencing. Doesn't make it bad or wrong. It's they don't have the tools to do higher reasoning and work through that emotional energy. So that's the best they can do. And that's perfectly okay. Now, as we grow and learn to work with our emotional energy, there are better ways that we can work through it and channel it. But here's the caveat. We want to be really careful not to suppress it or repress it, push it down, and have it go unacknowledged, because then what will happen if we don't move that energy? Emotion is energy in motion, and that tells you this is something that wants to move through me and not get stuck in me. Emotional energy is not meant to be held onto or hoarded or kept. It's meant to be cleared and let it move through you. Let yourself feel it, experience it, and then move beyond, move through it. If it's love, great. Let it move through you and then share it. Let it just move out. If it's the opposite of love, maybe it's anger or rage or pain or something like that, let it move through you. Feel it, experience it. Let yourself have the experience that it's sharing with you. It's information, letting your body know, okay, I have a feeling, I feel some type of way about whatever's going on here. Okay, rather than suppress and repress it, acknowledge it, let it move, and then let it process through and out. And sometimes adding actual motion to that is really helpful, especially for those heavier emotions that are moving when it's painful, when it's coming from past trauma, when it's fear, when it's anger, when it's got that angst to it. It can be great to put on music. It can be great to dance it out. It can be great to yell it out. It can be great to stomp it out, but not to take it out on other people. And most importantly, well, it's also equally important, I guess, is not taking it out on other people or animals, not to take it in to yourself. You don't want to let it eat you up. And that's what emotional energy that's unprocessed will do if you don't move it. Okay. So I think now you have the sense of the discernment of feeling something. Feeling is a sensation that comes without any kind of judgment on it. It's just sensation. It might be pain. You might feel pain, but until you put some sort of emotion to that pain, you do not have suffering. If you judge that pain as, oh my gosh, I'm in pain, this is horrible, and then you get, this emotion started and you start to generate this field of discomfort, of extreme intolerance, resistance, then the pain becomes bigger and bigger and harder to work through and emotional. And that's also a good time to cry. Crying out your emotions is completely acceptable and encouraged. It's a great way to get that emotional energy out. You always have permission to cry. Give yourself that permission. Feeling is your body's feedback system. Your body is this tool that gives you feedback on everything in your environment, seen and unseen. You can feel a gentle touch. You can feel a light breeze on your skin. You can feel very subtle things. Like, have you ever felt a tiny, tiny little ant or gnat walking on your skin and you can barely perceive it, but yet you notice it's there? And so feelings as sensations and our body as the tool to perceive these sensations can be honed and can be used to open up our psychic abilities. And there's something called clairsentience. And clairsentience is it's the clear feeling, the ability to sense and perceive things in your environment that for most are unsensed and not noticed. And that isn't that most people can't. I think that most people do have the ability to notice more, but we're not used to practicing it. And it's a practice, just like anything else. Just like clairvoyance, it's clear sight, where you learn to see things in your environment that most people don't see. It's not that they can't, it's just that they haven't honed that ability or created, worked on that skill. So clairsentience it's the perception of energies. In this case, we're just going to go into spiritual energies and the energies of guidance, the energies of divine in your environment. When you open up any of these psychic perceptions, it's important to know that they also come in polarities. So sometimes energies show up that are in the form of loving beings or benevolent guides and galactics, and sometimes some things will show up that are not of love, that are not benevolent. And so also, again, it's important to be able to perceive the difference. And when you hone your feeling, your clairsentience, your ability to feel and perceive in your environment, you do have the ability to open up, to interact, and to perceive, is this something I want in my environment? Is this something I don't want? Is this something coming from love that wants to work with me? Is this not coming from love? And these are things that you can really learn to discern quite quickly. And I do have a technique for how to deal with things that show up that you don't want in another video. I will link that video above so you can click on that. But maybe after you listen to the rest of this, it is good to hone those skills. The way that I've learned to hone the psychic feeling ability, the ability to perceive what's in my environment, is by attention and paying close attention to what shows up. First, I had to work through my fear of having intense energies show up. They always seem to show up in the night, especially when I was younger. It was important for me to learn how to discern what was showing up and then what I wanted to work with. And then eventually I was able to create a field around myself so that I no longer am tormented by negative things coming in my environment. Something that's not of the light or that is disturbing in some way to me comes into my environment. I'm able to project a field, and a field that's uncomfortable for that type of energy. And I do this before bed. I do this all the time, actually. So it's very rare that anything makes it through that field that I don't want in my field. And I'm saying very rare. It's not impossible because it has happened, but I'm generally able to catch it pretty quickly and see, where did I accidentally make an invitation, because they don't come in without an invitation on some level. And oftentimes, of course, that's subconscious. We don't realize when we're inviting in something negative or of negative polarity that isn't positive for our field, that isn't uplifting, but we do that unconsciously sometimes. So again, important to be able to discern what's coming in. And we're just going to go now into, let's say that you've already dealt with anything, any fears, anything that is concerning you. You're not worried about anything negative coming into your environment. This is where we want to become really sensitive so that we can pick up what's in our environment and then work with it, play with it. I guess play is better because it really is playful and enjoyable and fun and blissful even to have these types of interactions, and also sometimes informative. Sometimes a type of guide or energy will show up to give information. I suppose they always have information for us in one form or another. So how I pick that up, and this is a practice that you can do as well. This is especially effective when you're in meditation or at night when you're asleep or going to sleep. And let's say maybe you wake up in the night and you feel a presence, or if you're in your meditation and you feel a presence, this is a great time to practice this technique. And so you first go into curiosity. I feel something here. And okay, let's just talk about first, what is that feeling? For me, I get a feeling of, I can feel energy, you can too, of it's kind of like a fluttering, chills or something like that. It could be that. I feel it like, I will say a fluttering. That's kind of the best word that I have in this moment for it. A fluttering, sometimes in my chest, sometimes it's in my environment somewhere near me, but my body is picking it up as sort of like this fluttery energy. Okay, something's here. It makes me aware that there's something in my environment that feels like it's not me, my body. It's coming from something beyond my body. So it's in my environment. That means it's probably wanting to interact with me in some way. And now I'm aware that it's there because I've perceived this feeling. And so I go into curiosity. And I'll take a few breaths. I'll make sure that I'm not getting too excited, because this is where you really want to keep emotion out of it. As soon as you get emotional about it, the ability to interact is diminished. If you get really, really excited, you can you startle that energy, or kind of push it away or make it inaccessible. Have you ever done, like, for those of you who do lucid dreaming, this has happened to me many times, where I become lucid in my dream and I get so excited, I'm lucid in my dream, that I wake myself up. So you have to be careful. Don't get too excited here. Just notice, like, oh, and I like to go into curiosity, because curiosity it's not overly excited. It's that, I wonder what this is. It's just this kind of gentle opening. It's an invitation. What is this? What is, who's here? Let's play. Let's play. Let's have some fun. Okay. So perceiving something, an energy. And generally, like I said before, I'll feel that somewhere in my body. Quite often in my heart, sometimes in other places. We'll say, for instance, you wake up, you feel an energy, you do a body scan. Where is this coming from? And you might feel some fluttering energy in your heart center or in your chest. And so I'll go into curiosity. What is this? Is this coming from within me, or does this feel like it's an energy outside of me? Quite often that'll lead me to feel more. Okay, let's say it's something that I'm feeling outside of me and it's communicating with me in a heart-centered communication. Then I'll open up to that. And granted, remember, I've already discerned that this is a positive experience. This is an energy that I want to communicate with. And so I open up to that. And I go into curiosity, who are you? And then I wait and I'm like, okay, what do you have to share with me? And I go into listening. And this, again, it's not just listening with your physical ears and hearing. This is a whole body type of listening, a whole body type of perception. So I can feel what is being shared. I can sense and feel, okay, there's a communication. And then in that feeling, I will sometimes go into, okay, what is this feeling sharing with me? And sometimes right away, something opens up. I have an understanding or telepathic communication. I'm very clairvoyant. So a lot of times this will open up my clairvoyant vision, and I'll start to see that being. Sometimes not. Sometimes I quite often perceive light. So I will often see a light being, or just a light energy, a lightness in the room. This happened last night. Was just woke up kind of unexpectedly, sometime in the middle of the night, and I saw a flash of light across my chest. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Is there something here? And I didn't feel the energy. So I just saw the light and just felt this very, very brief kind of passing by. And I knew, okay, that was just something passing by. All good. And I went back to sleep. I did have a really interesting dream after that. So maybe it was like delivering a dream to me. I don't know. It was interesting. Anyway, just something to be perceived. In that situation, there wasn't more for me to experience. Quite often, though, if I put my attention on it, I notice a light, I notice a feeling, then I expand and open up. I surrender to it. And that's a big part of it, to breathe and relax and surrender and open and allow the communication to come, however it is, however it wants to come, however you might receive it. And this is where it gets really individual, because you might have very specific ways of receiving and understanding something. You might get a download and suddenly all this information is there, at which point you should probably get up and write it down so you have it in the morning so you can retain that information. I can't tell you how many times I've received a download in the night, and then I'll wake up in the morning and think, oh, I wish I would have written that down, because I don't really remember. It's kind of like a dream sometimes where it's fleeting. So have a journal by your bed, write things down. This will also help you in your practice. And you can also do an incantation invitation to, if this is something you want to experience more of, and you start to have this practice and you've done the work to make sure your environment is protected and that what comes in is positive and that you want to work with what's coming to you, then there are incantations, and these are ways that invitations are made, especially as you're going to sleep at night, so that you're opening your field to allow communications. And, I want to say here that there are people that will probably say in the spiritual world, well, you don't want to open up to anything that's out there. And I agree. And I've addressed that a few times. To me, what this really is, these higher communications are from yourself. They're from aspects of yourself, if you want to call it your higher self, your divine self, your collective self. It's aspects of you in other, well, we can think of it as other places, other dimensions, other realities, if you want to think of it that way, that have communications for you. This is some expanded part of your being that wants to share something with you in order to assist you and support you on your present journey as the human being that you are. And so this can be very expansive and very opening and a lot of fun. And it also really expands your consciousness and ability to communicate with more than the physical world around you. If this is interesting to you, if you want to learn more, let me know in the comments below. Also, give me a thumbs up, like the video, share it if this is something you think you know someone that might benefit from this. And if you like the content of psychic perception and the way of doing, opening that up, I definitely let me know. I'm always willing to do more of that. I do that type of work with one-on-one clients as well. And I have some courses on that I'll include in the video link below. So feel free to check that out if that's interesting to you. And I'll close there. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you so much. I'm Waxela Sananda. I love you. I cherish you. Namaste.